Our ministry theme for the month of May has been creativity, and I hope that you found our Wednesday Soulful Home emails helpful in your own explorations. We've experienced the gifts of creativity in our community worship this month with our annual celebration of flower communion and volunteer appreciation on May 7th, and our glorious Music Sunday on May 14th, and the wonderful service led by our 9th and 10th grade coming of age class last Sunday. And while we may not have explicitly named creativity in our worship, it has certainly been our guide. This morning, in the spirit of creativity, I am inviting us all to pause together at the edge of summer, which has its unofficial start here in the United States tomorrow with Memorial Day. My childhood memories of Memorial Day include our family flying the American flag at our house and the school year being over. Memorial Day marked the opening of the neighborhood swimming pool, which was eagerly anticipated by me. And growing up in West Texas, it was warm by the end of May. So it was also time for popsicles, shorts, and sandals. Summer also meant extra trips to the public library, a treasured excursion, and sleepovers with friends. These are some of my cheery memories. The not so cheerful ones include mosquitoes and deer flies and sand spurs in abundance. More chores around the house. Those are the sand spurs I was talking about. Oh, they were ouchy. More chores around the house because not being in school means more free time, which in turn means more time for helping, right? And extended times with sibling and family, which was complicated. You have your own memories of childhood summers and other summers throughout your life. And we all probably have expectations or hopes or uncertainties on our mind about the coming summer. But before we go there, let us pause. Let us reflect a bit together. There has been so much going on in our collective and individual lives that it can be easy for the time to get away from us, for the hours and the days and the weeks and the months and the years to blur together. Whether at this time in your life you are actively parenting and or working outside your home, or you are a student or a volunteer or a retiree, or some combination of all of the above with other identities woven in, we've all been through quite a time in the past 3 years since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. It can be hard to wrap our minds around what the last 3 years have entailed. It's been a lot. It's been a lot for each of us in our own lives, and in our families, and in our homes, with the day-to-day responsibilities and joys and sorrows and challenges of simply being human. And then when we add on the concerns we hold about the larger world, the environment, wars and fighting around the globe, the stress of politics, racism and systems and structures of oppression, the insurrection, the economy, hate crimes, gun violence, poverty, illness, suffering, death, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's important to acknowledge that it's a lot. It's been a lot even before life with COVID. So if you can, let your mind wander back through the last, it's a lot. It makes you just want to cry sometimes. So if you can, let your mind wander back through the last 5 years of your life. See if you can recall some of the milestones, joys, disappointments, celebrations, losses, learnings that you've experienced in the last 5 years. In the time we have together right now, it's hard to pull up and move through 5 years. I know we each have memories of cancellations and postponements and plans that had to be changed and adapted. We've all had to pivot and pivot again and be creative in our adaptations to our situations. It can be useful to explore and reflect on this question when you have more time to think and remember. What milestones, joys, disappointments, celebrations, losses, and learnings have I experienced in the last 5 years? If you journal, you may have captured some of this already. I'm an infrequent journaler. I do find journaling helpful just to get things out and have them on paper to help me hold them, but it isn't a way that I consistently capture or reflect on my lived experiences. Since I think most of us aren't journalers or don't have a regular reflection practice, I want to invite you to try something at home later today or when it feels like a good time for you to try it. I invite you to explore and hopefully gain some insight into yourself, especially your life in the last 5 years or more, by drawing or creating a timeline of your life, just in the last 5 years. You can start with yesterday or this past month or whenever you like, and write down or draw a linear map, so to speak, sort of backwards of where you've been. It can be in as little or as much detail as you like. It can be something that you start and you add on to as you think about and remember events or experiences. And you might be surprised what comes up as you start to do it and have it be a project that you work on for a window of time. I have a slide of a few examples of timelines. And your timeline doesn't need to be fancy or artistic or any certain way. It's just for you. It's a chance for you to take time to name and acknowledge for yourself what you've lived through, your life's path, your journey. And doing it in this way can help make space for all the complexity, all the challenge, all the joy, all the messiness of our lives. I've made timelines myself like this at different points in my life, sometimes reflecting my whole life up until that point, paying attention to major life changes or traumas, sometimes looking for patterns, or trying to get a deeper understanding of the dynamics at play, or hoping to have some insight into understanding myself. Recently, I made a timeline of just the last 5 years, just to try and help me make sense of some of what had started to blur together in my memory, because there's just been so much that we've been navigating. For my timeline, I went back to 2018, the year before my father died in the February of 2019. Creating this timeline helped me name and notice both big life events and also some of the smaller yet still impactful things affecting me. I see this act of noticing and naming and reflecting as a way of holding space for myself, something that is important for each of us to learn how to do. One of my teachers, Emily Gillies at the Center for Holding Space, where I've been studying for the past 2 years, said something in one of our classes that really stayed with me. She encouraged us to pause and honor what is real. Pause and honor what is real. What she is encouraging us to do is to be aware of what is going on in any given moment in our mind, but also in our body and in our heart and with our spirit. Pause and honor what is real. Real for me, real for you, in that moment, with no need to explain or defend our experience to someone else, but to notice it for ourselves. Pause and honor what is real. This can be a powerful practice any day and every day. It is easy to be in and stay in our heads. It's easy to stay in our minds and our intellect. Intellectualizing things can feel safer. So I find it helpful to have tools that support me, that support us in going to our heart space, to name, to know, and to honor our feelings. To not stay stuck there, but to acknowledge what is going on in our heart and in our body, so we can be aware of and take action if needed. To show up differently if needed, and also be able to release what is going on in ourselves if that's appropriate or needed. I saw a meme last week that made me laugh out loud, as I could really relate to it, and maybe you can too. It says, exhaustor-whelmulated. Adjective, the feeling of being exhausted, overwhelmed, and overstimulated all at once. Also see teachers, May. So to all our teachers out there in the congregation and beyond, we see you. And of course, this feeling isn't limited to teachers. Many of us, as we reflect on the last 3 or 5, or even the last month, we can relate to the concept of exhaustor-whelmulated. And yes, it is good to laugh. And it is also good to see the opportunity here for a pause, a chance to notice what is real, to stop, to breathe, and to rest. As we gather together at the edge of summer and we look back over our shoulders at where we've been, and then before we begin our journey onward as life calls us to do, let us pause. In the coming hours, days, or even week, let us each take time to reflect. Let us notice the places where it's so much beyond our control. We do have choices and can offer our sacred yes or our sacred no. With so many things vying for our attention and energy, where do we have choices to say, yes, I will, or no, thank you, I won't? And notice that when we say no, what in fact are we then saying yes to? Ourselves? Other commitments we've made so that we can honor them more fully? Are we making time for rest, to refill our cup, so to speak? Whether your budget allows for vacation travel or you are staying home this summer, my prayer for each of us is that we use time in the coming months of summer for some self-care. Time to rest, time to take care. As the reading Tori offered us this morning said, staying quiet, enough, just long enough, to bask in our own awareness and simmer in the essence of our soul. Time to let our thirsty souls be refreshed so that we can show up again, because the world needs us. The world needs us rested and ready to show up in service to love and justice, boldly living our values. Pause and rest, my friends. Amen.